So, Mr. Sullivan, I saw that Scott Jacobs got on first, so I'm willing to start with that particular case. Is there anyone besides him that we would need in order to talk about it?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. And are you willing to share your screen, or do you want me to try to bring that up? Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right. I'm going to promote you to
okay.
allow you to do that.
Is Mr. Jacobs here?
Yeah, I'm gonna
okay.
bring him up too.
Okay. It says only the host can share in this.
Yeah, I'm changing you.
Oh, I got you.
You know,
There's too many different applications between Zoom and WebEx, and
we try not to get
which
Zoom
property is this we're looking at first?
And this is going to be the garage on 13th Street. The garage unit.
Okay,
yeah,
garage unit.
It's 3578 13th Street.
Okay,
Michael.
I have it.
All right, you should be able to share now.
Hey, Michael and Martin, are you guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So, hey, Mr. Jacobs.
How's it going?
So I'm going to share my screen, and I'll present, but feel free to add in, because you know more about it than I do. But so let me see here. Share content screen. Okay. So I'll start with the photos to give you some perspective. There's the property. It's on 13th Street. And here's the rear of the property. It's maybe all you need to know about what we're trying to fix. And the proposal is to put a 2-story accessory building. And relief is required for the alley centerline setback requirement, of course, and also relief from the restrictions. The RF zone since 2016 has specific requirements for an accessory building that is in a required rear yard. And so if you're not more than 20 feet away from the back of the house, you are in the required rear yard. And those restrictions are that you have a footprint of only 100 square feet and height of 10 feet. And it's special exception for relief from those provisions. So we're asking for a special exception from that. And then a special exception for the use, because to use this as a principal dwelling unit, any building, accessory building constructed after January 1st, 2013, that's located within a required setback shall not be used as a dwelling unit for 5 years. So we're asking for a special exception relief from that. There's the rear of the property in the context of the neighboring properties. And I'll go to the plans here. So these are the plans, and I don't know, Mr. Jacobs, do you want to talk about these? And I can move my screen around.
Sure, absolutely. I want to go back, Martin, to the site plan. So the first sheet that you see is the site plan, and the first box to the immediate left, which is basically where the alley is the footprint of the carriage house. So the current width of it would be 12 feet wide by, on the second level, it's actually going to be about 30 feet deep. On the, we'll say the grade or the alley level, it will be 12 feet wide by 20 feet deep. So essentially, we are only cutting into the topography 20 feet at the grade because of the difference in the elevation from the grade to the actual backyard. I don't know if you want to go to the second sheet, Martin. And then so here is sort of a blow up of that site plan where you can see at the garage level, this is the 12 by 20. And you can see, obviously, there is a set of existing stairs that you see immediately to the south that are in sort of bad condition right now that need to be basically torn out and redone. And so those will basically, that stair will remain, which takes you essentially from the grade in the back of the house down to the alley level. Okay, the next page. And then here you see at the, we'll call it at the yard level, which is 1 story or basically 8 feet above grade, is the footprint of the carriage house, where you see you have a floor plan. There's a series of stairs that take you from the alley, and the footprint is essentially about 12 feet by 30 feet deep. There is basically a you can see the kitchen area, and there's a bathroom area, and there's a little small living area in the front. Okay, this is actually the roof plan. Pretty much it's a flat roof, and it is sloping where you can see that arrow. It's going from the north side of the property to the south side. So we're taking all of the water, and the rainwater will run to a gutter that runs basically parallel with the entire length of the actual building at the south end. And next sheet. Here are the elevations. So the elevation to the left, as you can see, is essentially the, you can see the garage level, which is at the alley level. And then the material that you see for, we'll say about halfway up is brick. And then to the right, you can see the stairs that are leading to the yard level. And then, of course, above that, you have a series of windows with vertical fins that help to protect the sunlight in terms of shading. And that material that is above the brick area is actually metal panels. To the right, you can see the facade as you go up, is there's a series of stairs, and you can kind of see the same elevation, which is obviously the longer length of the facade, where you have those, again, the fins that rotate on, and then you have a doorway that's right there at the landing of the stairs, and then you can see a few stairs that go back down to the yard level. Okay, the next sheet. Along the, you'll see, so the facade that you're looking to the left is actually, if you're looking from the back of the house, you're actually looking at the east elevation, which is, you see the one window that's there, and then again, there's some brick for a portion of the building, and then you have the metal panels. And then to the right, where you're looking at, is actually the north elevation. So there's, again, the brick, and then obviously the topography shows, you're seeing the topography change there, and then the metal panels above that. Okay, the next. And then this is basically a series of sections, which you would see essentially again to the left, where you have the alley, where you have the garage entrance with the stairs to the right. And then obviously you have the upper level that's there. And then you can see here on the right side where I was saying the garage actually steps. It's 20 feet deep, and you can see where the grade is. Then obviously above that, the carriage house will be 30 feet deep, which is essentially another 10 feet at grade level, at the yard level. And then the next one are just a few details that are showing sort of the materials and the insulation and everything else as far as the gutter and what needs to happen as far as just the structural stability of the building. Any questions?
So we'll, I'll ask Commissioner Lovewaite, since she's on the phone, if she had any particular questions first.
Yes, it was your egress. What's the width of the egress and the stairs?
So in terms of, yes, in terms of the stairs, the egress would be essentially you would have what's existing today, which is basically the stairs that lead down to the alley level. So as you can see about midway but at the carriage house, there's a door that's there where you can actually exit out either that back window that's at grade, somewhat at grade towards the east, or you can go down the stairs there to the alley. And that's essentially what transpires today in order for me to get out to the alley level from the yard level. And that stair width is actually increasing it by 36 inches. So to meet code in order for egress.
Okay, and also, is this going to be a one-car garage?
Yes, it is. One-car garage. That's correct.
Okay, and it's a studio, basically.
Basically, yes. Yeah, it's only, you know, the total footprint ends up being somewhere a little less than 390 square feet, thereabout. So it's basically a studio. Yes. Not too big. It's pretty small.
And you're not asking for any rooftop access?
No, I am not. That is correct. No roof access whatsoever. The mechanical units are actually, so in terms of the mechanical unit, the condensing unit would be located at the back on the ground. The only thing that would have a roof penetration would be the, you know, the ventilation for the bathroom and then the exhaust, but there will be no rooftop unit or anything on top of it. And it's basically a white TPO roof. So from, you know, obviously it'd be just a white rubber roof that you would see that's up there, but no access.
Okay. They would be sharing the rear yard with the other tenants?
That is correct.
Was that it, Commissioner?
Yes, those are my questions. Thank you.
No problem. So one thing that I noticed, there's a difference between these drawings and the renderings that I got just about an hour ago that are in color, and that is that these don't have the lighting areas. So that might be something you wanna take a look at.
Yes.
Because, and they looked good. I mean, in terms of where you had the lights placed, and my only question was going to be, are you planning to put those on motion sensors? Because we're talking about an alleyway, and what was your thought there?
Yes, I do. So the lights that will be, the renderings that you receive, it has a little bit more detail than the initial set we're looking at here. And so along the alley, you're right, there's two sconces along at the opposite sides of the garage, where they would basically be on a motion. And then there's also another sconce on the side as you go through sort of the gate that's leading to the stairs. There's a sconce that's there as well that will light that area well. And then also there's a series of lighting that goes along the steps to light the steps as well. And then there's a few lights that are at the landing area as well, and a few sconces at one sconce at the entry door. Correct. Yes, and then two at the back.
At the back. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, that like I said, I just noticed it because I looked at them earlier and they weren't in the other plans. So.
Right. Yes, and then those will be, you know, obviously the foot candles we're looking to, you know, have a 2700 Kelvin, so they're, you know, pretty subdued. They're not going to be very bright, so you know, that they're not shining in anyone's window. So very more of a warm color light, if you know that makes sense.
And then in terms of the use itself, I mean, how do you envision you doing this? Is this going to be a rental, or is this for a family member? What's your thought there?
You know, I haven't really had any thoughts. I know when I initially, you know, bought the property, of course, about 20 years ago, that, you know, the back yard was always pretty deep. And so with the, you know, the alley, a lot of the homes already have garages. I think my next door neighbor actually has a rooftop deck on his. You know, the thought is to add sort of this unit, you know, for a possibility. My daughter's actually, she is in school in LA and she's finishing up 2 more years. So possibility of her, you know, living there or me being able to rent it out is the possibility of looking at that. So you are correct. And it, more so of a studio. So it was to sort of utilize the space. It's a huge backyard, and right now, you know, the way that sort of the trees and the landscape, you know, it's kind of the weeds and all have overgrown it, and you can see the pictures. So I want to really clean it up and make it look, you know, really, really nice.
So I do have another question with respect to the garage and the access. Will the garage be used by the person or the the renter or whoever's using the space above, or will that go to the house?
I haven't really made a determination how the garage would be used. I'm currently residing near myself, so more than likely I would probably use it. I think
So I'm just wondering how they're going to get to their front door. If they're going to have to just walk up the alley all the time. I hate alleys.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think, obviously whoever would, if someone was to stay here, I think it would be utilized by them more so than someone that, obviously myself, I don't have any problem with traversing the alley. So, I'm familiar with the area. So, if I use the garage, I would walk around. But if, obviously if someone stayed there, that would be an option for them to be able to use it and be able to go right into the stairs and get into their unit.
So how far from the street to the actual garage is it? Like 20 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet? I'm just trying to get a gauge.
I think it's like isn't the third or fourth one in?
Yeah, I'm like 2 houses from the Otis Street. And so if you had from my front door around, it may be 100 feet. I mean, it's, I'm at the end of the block of 13th and Otis. So I'm, like two dwelling units, from Otis. And then of course, obviously it would be, it's probably like maybe 40, 50 feet down Otis to the alley, or 60 feet to the alley. And then of course, so it may be about 100, 150 feet total from my front door all the way around to the back.
Okay.
Could be more. I haven't physically measured it, though.
I'm going to share again and show a view here from Google Earth. Does everyone have that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not far.
You can see it. So 3 properties in.
And Mr. Jacobs, in terms of your neighbors, what have you spoken to them about, and what has been their reaction so far?
I have. So my neighbor I'll call it to which is the south of me. I did speak with him and his wife about it, and he was pretty receptive to it. He was positive. No negative input. I think obviously. What's there now, it's going to look definitely a lot better improvement. So, we get along pretty well. He hadn't really had any issues. And then of course, Nani, who was next door to me, she owns the house in the corner store with the apartments. That's the 2 dwelling units to the north of me. And I actually dropped the plans off to her. I talk to her on a regular basis. She's been there almost just as long as I have, and we've always fought to try to keep just the back of that area. My area, for whatever reason, becomes a dumping ground because I have that retaining wall, and it seems like everybody just drops off trash and large debris, and I'm constantly calling bulk trash. So I'm hoping that'll eliminate some of that. But Nani's been really receptive, and she's been, supportive from, as far as I've known, as far as me and her discussions have been of me doing this work. So we have a good relationship.
If I may, Mr. Jacobs.
The 2 adjacent neighbors.
If I may, Mr. Jacobs. So will there be any kind of, will the sun be blocked at all by your unit going up on the deck next door? You said there was a deck on top of the garage. Will there be any kind of impact on, obviously the view, of course, but any kind of impact on the lighting that would be there?
No, I think so. Obviously, the way that the sun rises to the east, which is really, at our front doors, and it sets. So really, the deck gets the sunlight at noon. They would get more sunlight because I'm actually on the north side of them. So his deck would get a lot of sunlight, and then obviously when it sets, he would probably get some shadow late in the evening. Obviously during the summer months, when or the winter months when the sun the altitude is a little bit lower, but not much. I think more so where he is, it's not an issue. I think for Nani, she has, there's a deck, but her deck is not impacted by the carriage house because she has a driveway. So her driveway is there where she has a garage door to get to her driveway. But the deck itself would still get sunlight because the carriage house doesn't block the depth of where her deck ends, which is about maybe 10 feet deep from the house, which your house is a little bit deeper than mine.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just always concerned about the neighbors, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Great. And we're joined now by Stan, who is also on the committee. Stan, did you have any particular questions, or are you good?
I'm good, thank you.
No problem. Well, to be honest, I think it looks great. I know that being cooped up in my house for the last 6 months has made me look out the back yard a number of times and think about building something back there.
Right.
So best of luck to you on that. But I would make a motion to the committee that will recommend approval of the application in the areas of relief. Can I get a second?
I second.
Second.
I second.
All those in favor, just say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we will recommend to the full ANC. We'll meet in October where we'll be able to vote this through. But you know, so far so good. Keep the neighbors happy, and I think you'll be in good shape, Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Sure, thank you.
So much. Absolutely.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Sullivan, who would I see Michael Cross is on the line, so shall I bring him back up?
Yeah, it's Michael, and if Matt scores a fava is there, and
Okay, give me just a second.
Michael may have some Lizzie there too.
All right, yeah, it's gonna take me a second here. Mr. Jacob. And Lizzie, you said, probably?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we got plenty of room. Okay. And will Mr. Cross be sharing his screen instead of you, Marty?
I think that was the idea, right, Michael?
I'm prepared to do so.
All right, let me change that.
Will you be working from the plans that I received?
Yes.
I believe so. Yes, I believe I'll be presenting
Okay.
straight out of that set.
Okay.
And then for anyone who's watching, this is 503 Park Road.
Sorry, I'm going to try that again to give me a little more flexibility. Is that working for everybody?
I see it. Of course, keep in mind that Commissioner Loveweight is working from the paper document, so.
Okay, yeah, we'll try to reference the page numbers. So if everybody's ready, I can run through kind of what we've got here.
Sure.
The project that we're seeking relief for tonight is a 3-unit conversion in the RF1 zone under U 320.2. It's being proposed at 503 Park Road. That's on the north side of the block between 7th and Warder. The project is generally conforming with the requirements of the conversion as it's a matter of right mass in general, as it does not extend back more than 10 feet from either of the neighbors. We are seeking 2 waivers in this project. One for the modification of rooftop elements. That is actually so that we can restore the front porch to one that is more similar to what we believe was the original style on the home. And the second waiver we're seeking is from parking. 2 parking spaces would be required. And we will be eliminating a curb cut in developing this project, which we estimate yields almost 2 parking spaces of street parking in doing so. I'll turn it over to Lizzie to walk through some of the revisions that we've made to this project since our last meeting on 7/17 to address some of the concerns that were expressed at that time.
So one of the first areas of concern was with our design of the front facade. The structure at 503, we are proposing to keep that front wall. So a lot of that existing design isn't changed, but some of the conversation we had is how to restore it to look more in kind as to how it used to be and how the rest of the block would be. Some of these elements included updating the columns on that front porch. It currently has like a faux stone material wrapped around it. So we want to restore that back to a wood column. The other piece is on the top of the porch. We're adding a detail of like a railing and adding balustrades as well. And this is all based on some photos of previous structures in the neighborhood and also some existing structures in the neighborhood to try to bring it back to that original look. We believe that through this building's lifetime, these pieces have been removed, and therefore we're trying to restore that. The other piece that was of concern was a trash area. To resolve this, when developing the site, we looked to how we can move the trash from the front of the property towards the rear. That way it's not as much of an eyesore, it's a little more protected and not in the general neighborhood's vision. So by doing this, we've created an easement on the property at 503.5. The full lot is being subdivided, and therefore we need an easement to be able to walk through that adjacent property. So we're going to be creating that so that we can put all the trash for both buildings in the rear. We're also including it's fully exterior. It's a pass-through along the property line of that 503.5 and the project, and the structure to the west. This also is going to be used for some rear bike storage that we're proposing. We have several bike racks in the back there, and having this exterior pass-through will allow you to walk your bike towards the front and use that space. And I think that was all of the points. Yeah, the bike storage, the trash in the rear, and then the revisions to the front facade.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, one quick question since we're here. On the side, I don't know how to call it, on the leftmost property, there was some question, because there's a building restriction line, there was some thought about whether or not to include windows on that side. Were you able to incorporate that, or did you leave it as a solid wall?
So we can't include windows on the wall that is right along the property line because they would be at risk. We would essentially, we couldn't build them there. If anything, we could add something that's on that little portion that's set back 3 feet, but because of where the adjacent structure is, it would be blocked anyway. So we would just be creating a window basically looking directly at their wall. So I don't think it's as advantageous.
Sure. Do you have a view of that side? And I bring that up because it's going to be sort of a big wall. So I'm just wondering if how are you breaking that up?
You're talking about specifically like the angled view.
Yeah, the view going down Park. If I'm looking up Park Road, or if I'm that neighbor living next door, and now I've got this sort of wall along I'm just wondering what does that look like?
Sure.
trying to see if I can pull one to send you the link, Michael.
Yeah, or yeah, I guess that makes sense since I have control.
Yeah, I don't know if this will be a great representation because we don't have the adjacent building massed in, so you wouldn't be able to see exactly how it's being blocked, but let me see if I can push this to you.
I'm assuming it's brick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think, well, hold on.
Or is it hardy board, or
Let me
what's
take
the?
a look. Actually, I'm sorry. It's not shown as brick right now.
Okay. Well, okay. So if I'm looking at this, so this is, I mean, if I had to guess, you know, the other building is going to come to that center line, or that line that kind of comes down.
Exactly. Kind of that front third is what you would see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Michael. What are your thoughts on? Is there a way to break that up so that it's not just one giant wall of hardy board?
We could certainly look at it. You know, I think that maybe we are not big advocates of at-risk windows, and
Well, I'm not recommending that it has to be window. I'm just saying, is there an architectural feature or something?
yeah,
We had, I'll say, we had a property on Columbia Road that's doing this, and they put a garden wall, you know, where something green is, you know, will go up it. Now that might have worked for them because they had access to the wall there, but you know, I'm just looking for something that it's not one monolith.
I think we could certainly look into it. I think that you know, maybe we work to have it look like some infilled windows, at least like there was a window there, just to give it a little bit of extra texture. We can work with the material and consider a vegetated wall. I think those are all options that we can consider.
Thank you. Anyway, sorry, keep going if there was more. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, so I had a quick question. As I'm looking at the photograph, I guess this is on page 3, BVA 3, yeah, on page 3. The bay window on the left of the property, that's coming out?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're saying there'll be no windows on that wall, or there will be windows?
On that particular wall, this will become a attached house. So the side windows on that existing house will be removed.
Okay, and what about on the new house? Will there be windows on that? Is that the side you were talking about?
Exactly. That's exactly what Mr. Ray was asking. I think he was specifically concerned about possibly the portion of the wall where the first two windows are, where one over the other, that first row of windows, and whether we could create something like that, as this house will project past the adjacent neighbor due to the curvature of the road.
Right.
Yeah. And Dottie, just one thing, or Commissioner Loveway, one thing that wasn't shown in the plans is that there is a building restriction line for the red brick neighbor. And so technically they can't build forward of that building restriction line, and that it actually, I mean, I know we're calling them at risk, but they're not really as at risk as one would think. So, and again, I'm not saying you have to put windows, but I know Commissioner Bass was wondering about that when we talked last too. So give it some thought.
We've been having some, Michael, we've been having some real issues with DCRA and the fire code people with the at-risk windows. I mean, it used to be, you could do it with a covenant, which should be the way it is, because the covenant just says, if I ever have to close up the window, I promise to close it up.
Yeah.
But the last one I did, which was another case on 13th Street that we brought before you guys about a year ago. It's just been such a struggle. So there's been a shift against allowing those windows.
Okay. Well, this time, was there anything else that you guys needed to tell us, or should I just?
No, I don't think so. I think the only thing that we were going to add is that obviously we'd appreciate your support for the third unit in this location. It's our hope to provide additional family-sized units to the area. The unit breakdown here is we're providing two bedroom, 2-bath units that are over 1,000 square feet apiece. And then the third unit is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath at almost 2,000 square feet. So we do feel like we're able to provide, true family housing with this additional unit.
So I'll turn to Commissioner Clark. Did you have any questions?
I don't think so. Thank you. I am also concerned about the wall. I know I see some walls where they project video on them, so I don't know if you want that to happen. But certainly, by the neighbor. But certainly, the green walls are great. I know maybe a mural is not a good thing to have there, but murals are fun, and certainly just changing the material, putting a pattern that might be a timeless pattern, perhaps, and might actually help break up that big wall in lieu of having windows. So thank you.
And I'm sorry, I'm not seeing. Actually, Marty, do you mind not sharing so I can see? Sorry. Or no, I'm sorry, Mr. Cross.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Stan, did you have? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I was just ensuring that you're building to height, allowable height, and lot occupancy.
Yes, ma'am. We are conforming with the allowable height here. We are proposing a structure at around 34 feet, just short of the 35-foot requirement. And with regard to lot occupancy, we're actually under lot occupancy. We're at 45% out of the allowable 60. That's largely due to the way the building is set way back on the lot. And
the shape of the lot.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. Stan, did you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, I think parking is the one that would sometimes catch us here, but at least personally, I feel that the removal of the drive that returns parking spaces back onto the street is a good thing. In fact, that particular property gets a lot of people who don't live there parking in that alleyway, or that driveway. So it's probably good that it's going to be gone. We do have, just in case, if you're on the call and you wanted to raise your hand, you could do that and ask a question. I'm happy to entertain one at this point if I forgot to say that the last time. But if there aren't any other questions, then I'll make a motion that we would also recommend support of this project to the full ANC and see if there's a second.
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 Being seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No abstentions. So there you go. I think we're 2 for 2 tonight, guys. And
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. I might actually on that on the garage one. I've got another property who's doing that, but they think they can do it all by right, and I wasn't quite convinced. And after hearing your presentation tonight, I'm still not convinced that they can do it by right because of the unless it's under 100 square feet, which they
put so many restrictions on accessory buildings. The unit is permitted. You're allowed to have 2 principal dwelling units, and you're allowed to have it in the accessory building. But then they put on all these other exceptions
within the 20-foot setback. Yeah.
Well, even with that, even outside the setback, we end up with a lot of relief. Our typical accessory building dwelling unit case in the RF has like 5 or 6 areas of relief, and then when you look at them all, it's almost nothing. It's all paper restrictions.
Yeah,
it's not like you're asking for height, and so it's kind of
Well,
frustrating. But,
you may have a client. I don't know. We'll see.
okay, thanks.
If it happens, I'll forward them along. But you guys can drop off. The only thing I was going to say for my commissioners is, All Souls Church is going to be coming forward with a historic preservation case. I don't personally think that there would be any concern at the ANC with a historic preservation of All Souls, but I kind of wanted to get a sense from those of you on the call. Is there anything that you think we should be asking about, or do you have any particular issues or questions that we would want to bring forward?
Are they going to restore the building, or are they just going to preserve the building as is?
I mean, that's a good question. I assume that right now it's that they want to preserve it, but I understand that in getting this approved, they would then be eligible for funding that would allow them to help restore, because as you probably recall, they have a lot of those nets up that are catching pieces that are falling off of the property.
Yeah, that building is very old. I've been going to it for 50 years, so I know it's old.
So we can certainly ask them about what their hopeful restoration plan is. Anything else?
Okay. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I don't think anything. I mean, it's really close in the SMD, but I mean, restoration is always good. I wondered about those nets. They've been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Happy to see those go away.
Yeah.
I'm hoping too that maybe the school revenue's coming in. I guess they have parties and things. So I'm hoping they're financially sound, right, to continue. And I really hope that they, if this will help them get grants, then great, because they are open to the community and are very open as far as who they serve. So I would be happy if they were able to help get some grants from the city for that. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't see any reason for us not to support it fully, which we will probably just write a quick letter that says, yeah, we support this, and send it to HPRB and be done with it. So I just wanted to double check that. And then since it's a relatively small group, I will say on the whole issue of the Park Morton, as I said earlier this evening, I will be trying to set up a meeting in case there are commissioners that have questions. So we'll be doing that. But I also got word today that, as I had suspected, we're coming up on the renewal for the land development agreement for the Bruce Monroe site, because that was extended in 2018, but only for 2 years. So they are going to need to extend that again, and we are going to need to weigh in on that before the end of the year. So we'll likely be doing it in October. So I just wanted to put that on people's radar, that's part of what we're going to have to do as well. Any questions?
Thank you for the good fight. I know it's difficult when you are holding people back at the last meeting. So I think we do want to do it right, and I know you can help us get there. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, with that, then I think we are done for the evening. Thank you all for your time, and that was a good one.
Good night.
Thanks,
Thank you, Michael.
Sure. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night.